All right, let's get to it. Let's get to it, champ. Saturday. Beterbiev, Bivol. How did you see it?
It was close. I don't go with the whole. It was everything's every close fight is robbery. I mean, you can call it either way. I'm not mad at that. But again, I've seen arguments which I probably be more aligned with, are arguments about exactly what the judge. It's about what the judge is looking for. You can't y'all attack the fighters as we score the fight sometimes. Like, man, listen, it's what the judges look for at times. Now we know when a robbery is a robbery. I mean, it's clear as day for real. But at the same time, it was a close fight. You can make an argument of who did what in that fight. But again, this is why we waited for these type of fights like that, because we knew when it came down to the wire, it could be anyone's game. And it's all about what you like and what you was going with in terms of what you when you was looking at the fight.
So, from your perspective, your view, did you appreciate Beterbiev's pressure more than Bivol's boxing, or did you appreciate Bivol's boxing more than Beterbiev's pressure?
Both, a bit of both. I like the way Bevo definitely, again, another one that knows how to mark his distance, and keep that that gap, but be in range and out of range when it was time for him to attack and get out of there. But and I like Beterbiev. Felt like he couldn't box. You couldn't win a boxing match with this man. So he had to close the gap and press no matter what. And he couldn't afford to let up, because we seen once Canelo took the foot off the gas against Bevo, saying we seen that Bevo just started picking him apart and then did what he wanted to do in there. So I'm sure Beterbiev looked at that and was like, I can't afford to let this guy get comfortable or start sitting down on punches.
Were you surprised by like Beterbiev's willingness to box? Because it seemed like we see more boxing out of Beterbiev than we ever have, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because sometimes you got to change things up. I'm pretty sure. Like when I'm looking at tape studies, I'm not always looking at. I'm not really looking for the flaws. I'm mainly looking at like the strengths and what you feel maybe people that was going to try to pick up against just based off your style. So I'm pretty sure like Better Be felt like that Bevo's team may have thought that he was just going to try to bang and be on the inside all day, but he was like, no, you gotta box your way in to get to the inside at times. So you gotta box. You gotta box. You can't just yeah, we seen him take a punch and just walk right through it, but he probably had. I'm pretty sure he had a lot more respect for who Bevo was to just, try to take a shot or a couple of shots to get in there. So no, you got to box your way in. You got to box his way in, be smart, and be a little bit smarter.
So the fight ends, they read the decision off. Do you think it's the right decision?
I mean, I'm probably a little biased only because like I said, I'm just human. Because I picked Beterbiev to win the fight to begin with. But I thought it was close. I thought it was close. But it's like, when you're looking at a certain guy, you might give him one of those swing rounds or so. Because there was a few swing rounds in there that could have went. I was like, it could have went either way. I wouldn't have been mad if Bevo would have won the fight either. It could have went either way. But it was like, of course, if I'm looking at something that I like in particular, and if it's a swing round, I'm gonna go with the guy that the style I thought that matched what I was looking for to begin with at times. And I'm just being honest, but again, like I said, I also could have seen Bevo winning that fight. I think a lot of people and I agree with me what they say, like maybe like the last two rounds, he kind of like pull back just a bit. You know what I mean? And when the rounds that really matter, it's always the championship round for some reason. All these big fights that come down to the wire. That's what makes boxing great. But again, it was like Beterbiev probably felt like he had to step it up, and Bevo probably felt that he had it in the bag, and probably took his foot the gas just a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, he was really busy. I mean, his activity through those first, what, 4 or 5
Yeah,
rounds at the pace. So it was definitely a good back and forth. Now, obviously, rematch talk is in the air. What happens in a rematch? You see any different outcome? Do we get the same fight, round 13?
I,
Like, where we at?
honestly, you possibly see a trilogy, and what that means, I could probably see Bevo coming up back, because again, Beterbiev is getting older too, and he looked, he didn't. He looked a little bit, his timing was a little bit off in the last fight. And you don't know how much, these fights alone can take a lot out of you, especially fights like that. I mean, that's his first fight. He went the distance. You know what I mean? So you also got to think, where's his mental at? Yes, he won the fight, but does he still feel like that, that he's, that he can just walk through everyone and still, be, just as powerful and great as he was in the past? So, I mean, like I said, the mental aspect plays a lot moving forward. And like I said, in the rematch, that clearly tells you that Bivol feels that he can, that he won or can win the rematch if he's taking the fight again. So, yeah, I look at all things like that, especially with the mental aspect of the game.
Yeah, that'd be dope. See, imagining Bivol winning a rematch and then potentially a third fight after that.
Right.
Sheesh. Be dope for sure. What did you think about Eddie's shock and his, it's a robbery,
I
that
mean,
kind of stuff?
Eddie gonna ride for his fighter regardless, man. So I'm not mad at Eddie. I mean, if Eddie felt, I won't say, like I said again, I won't say it's robbery, but like I'm not mad at Eddie for, what I'm saying, for standing behind his guy and his fighter and be like, I feel like we should have got the nod.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Did you see Bivol's wife? You seen that
Everyone,
the
everyone,
internet?
everyone, everyone's seen the tweet fight floating around, man.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that's some personal match. So there's something definitely lingering. Whatever they got going on, they personally. But some things is best is just to keep to yourself at times. But again, I'm not who am I to tell people how to, express themselves or their frustrations or what they have with certain people. But again, me personally, some things you gotta just keep behind closed doors and just let it be because people can either root for it, of course, but you see in today's world, especially with social media, they're gonna find some narrative to spin it and use it against you down the road or even in present time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The internet is undefeated. They can always find a way to make something bigger than what it is, for
Right.
sure. For sure. So in that same division, we got two other top contenders. And really quick, just for everybody in the chat, look, I love y'all. We got some good commentary. If y'all have any questions, feel free to share it. We'll definitely get them over to Jamel. But either way, I'm keeping an eye on that chat, y'all. So whatever y'all got, come with it. Come with it. Especially as we get towards the end of this, we'll definitely share what we can. But yeah, 175, Jamel. Two other top contenders. One's an Morrell, the other guy for sure. They signed to a fight. Just thoughts on that fight, first and foremost.
That's a good fight. That's a good fight. It was a real good fight. I think everyone's it's a good fight because everyone's kind of questioning about both of their last performances, which they won, but I guess they didn't show that dominance that people are accustomed to seeing at times with them. But again, I think it's a good fight that and it's a tough fight for both individuals to take on. But this is what boxing needs, and it needs to be the norms, that we see fights like this. So again, it's a good fight. I think either man can win it.
50-50 in your mind, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Vosdick, obviously a tough opponent. And David, he won the fight, which is what
Right.
matters, just like you said. And then I think Morrell, whose opponent, forgive me, I forget his last name, but I was there, I was at the fight. They were fighting outside in LA, and it was probably like, man, it's probably like 90, felt like 100.
Yeah, yeah, LA Heat on
I don't know that we saw the best version of Morrell, and there might have been some outside factors contributing to that. It was hot, man. It was hot.
yeah.
It was
I mean, yeah,
scorching.
but it happens. I mean, we all have our off nights. I mean, when I fought Kendall, people thought, that was it, and that was gonna be easy work for Frampton, and we seen how that fight played out. So again, who knows? It could have been an off night, could have been an off night for both individuals. But again, it's in the past. They both won. They both have something to bring to the table now, and it's basically, something to prove who's the basically the next to take over the throne in that division. Because who knows also what Bivol and Beterbiev go after this past weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So just staying there on the Benavidez Morrell fight, what do you think is going to prevail? Because you got David's. I mean, if you break it down to the very simplest form, it's David's activity and Morrell's power, right? So, what do you see being the prevailing factor in that fight? And just breaking it down, how do you see it playing out?
Um, it's great because David still got power himself, but again, yeah, Morrell has power. He has pop. I think David probably is gonna have to start a little faster to get Morello off rhythm, and keep him on the back foot. But again, like he can't afford, but sometimes David gets in a bad habit of walking straight to his opponent. So, Morrell, just having that amateur pedigree and style, he's gonna measure you and he might run into one of those big shots that you mentioned just a minute ago. So again, it's one of those things where you gotta be on your P's and Q's, man, because has power. They both have power to hurt the other. But like again, for me with David, I would like to see him, just push the pace from the beginning to the end, and keep David uncomfortable.
Got you. Got you.
I
Now,
mean,
Say again, my bad, Jamal.
No, again, keep Morrell uncomfortable in there.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, in that division, right, 175 of the 475 pounders that we just spoke about. So Beterbiev, Bivol, Morrell, and Benavidez. Canelo's fought one, and he's not been too proactive in making fights with the other two, right?
Right,
So he spoke. You know, I spoke to Canelo directly about this. He shared it with other reporters. He
right.
has been out there in the media. His desire to potentially get back that fight with Bivol. Now, you know, if Bivol doesn't win or he's not the champ, my first question is: could you imagine a fight with Canelo and Beterbiev? And does he have, you know,
I, th
will he be able to pull that off?
I thought about it. You know, I thought about it after the performance because I felt like Beterbiev is maybe slowing down a bit. And let's be real, fighters they sometimes they see that as a and that could be a weakness. So you know maybe Canelo does flirt with the idea, especially if it's for the opportunity to be undisputed in another weight division. And we see how now you see a lot of fighters trying to, you know, the goal is to become not just undisputed in one weight class, but multiple weight classes now. So I can see just like the added chip to the legacy, you know, with Canelo, you know, the flirt with the idea of, you know, going for undisputed in another weight division against a older Beterbiev. If he
If
doesn't if he doesn't take on the Bivol fight, the rematch or so or whatever.
if that would have happened, if they would have actually fight Beterbiev and Canelo, how do you think that fight? Do you think? Because I think the issue with Bivol, which we all know, right? If you've watched the fight, if you don't, right, little 411 was his activity. Bivol just boxed them, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Kept them
That's,
busy, kept them at the
that's
end
what
of
I
the
mean. And
punch.
I think the less, you know, the activities were hurt Canelo and a lot in their fight. And I was just going to go into that. I think just who Beterbiev is in terms of you know, he fights at a certain speed at times, you know, and that could be bad, you know. So and like Canelo, he does have one of the best chins, you know, in the game. You know, I mean, he's taking some shots on the chin, and he does have defense. So I think, you know, Canelo can flirt with the idea or feel like, you know, after the last fight that, you know, this guy isn't maybe Superman or as we thought he was. I mean, again, Bevo's just a different, you know, is a monster himself. So it's not like, you know, Beterbiev fell off. But sometimes fighters feel like, okay, you know, he stood up to it. And I think Bevo said that Canelo hits harder or whatever, so something like that. So of course that gets the fighters, and fighters, you know, they take that in, like, you know what, maybe, you know, maybe Bevo is right. Maybe I do hit harder than him. And they go from there.
Yeah, and if it's not, you know, because Canelo obviously he just had his last fight. You know, it was a victory. Maybe not the guy that fans wanted to see him in there with. Although shout out to Edgar Berlanga, I think he acquitted himself well in defeat. Right. Either way,
Edgar
you
partying up, man. Edgar,
know.
shout out to Edgar, man. Edgar doing him, man. I ain't mad at him, man. Hey, live it up, Edgar.
Living his life. He
Like I
living his
said, the
life. I
most,
mean,
the most I hope he got from it was just the learning experience. You know what I mean? That's the most that I hope that he got from that fight, at least. You know, despite how people say what he's doing now with his, you know, with the defeat, you know, if he learns something from it and feels even more confident moving forward with his career, I'm all for it.
yeah, Aga definitely is working the lines like Gregory Hans. He's called out AJ Anthony Joshua since his fight. He's called out Anthony Joshua. He's also
Yeah,
called
yeah,
out
right, yeah.
what's his name? I'm sorry. Forgive me. He just called out Beterbiev. He said he could
That's
stand
what
there
I'm
and train with
saying.
Beterbiev.
But you see what I mean though? Everyone's getting, you know, like what they say, froggy with a bit after they seen the performance. You know what I mean? It was a good fight. And I've said that the man lost, but they like again, but a lot of people probably feel like he's slowing down and isn't, you know, Superman right now. So of course everyone's going to take the end. Plus he got with the belt. So it's a good payday and you can become a champion, you know what I mean?
Payday, exactly. Quick shout out to our guy Daniel Navarrete. He's in the chat. Daniel says Canelo didn't have the balls to fight Benavidez. Knock it off. He will not fight Beterbiev. He's gonna fight
Hey,
Conor
Daniel,
Ben
I'm telling you,
next.
Daniel, listen, you only good as your last performance, bro. That's what they say. That's what they say. You're only good as your last performance, bro. And like you don't think that that somebody over there is talking to Canelo right now? Like, listen, we can because they already people getting frustrated with Canelo and his choices of opponents at 165. It's 168, I mean. So of course you gotta look around and fight somebody. You know? So like, hey. come back to this video when you start hearing about it, they talking about it like, hey, Canelo is flirting with the idea of fighting Beterbiev. But I agree. At one point in time, like, man, Canelo ain't going up there and mess with no Beterbiev. You know what I mean? I was saying the same thing. But, you know, over time, things change.